Hi everybody, welcome to Tunes Reviews. Today we're going to do another review that's kind of off the cuff. No bells and whistles here. I hope that this video finds you in good health and happy. I hope everyone is taking what's going on in the world today seriously and you're following the proper precautions. And I just hope that all of this gets taken care of sooner rather than later, and that you're all taking care of yourselves. Today, I want to talk about fragrance that has been kind of it's been part of the building blocks to the hype train in the fragrance community. And of course, this brand in general has been hyped up for quite some time, since around 2012, I would say. Way back when, right around I had started reviewing. Now, this fragrance in particular was probably the second or third fragrance from the house to be hyped up. If I remember correctly, it was Mr. Hyro that had initially talked about this. I think it was between him or another reviewer that no longer reviews, David. Those two were the initial people that I recall reviewing this fragrance, and this is, of course, none other than Nasomatto Duro. Now, Duro comes in the 30 ml bottle, just like the rest of the fragrances from Nasomatto. It is a extrait de parfum, and these usually run you about $170 American, give or take. You can find these fragrances at a pretty good discount if you look at reputable buyers on eBay. You look at places like Fragrance X or Fragrance Net. They tend to have these for around $115 to $120 American, which for what you are getting is a steal in my book. Because not only does Nasomatto provide a unique composition and a unique aesthetic, I mean, these bottles are really, really freaking cool. And there's not really much out there that looks as simplistic yet as eye-catching as these bottles. But it also is a house that has created some of the biggest game changers in fragrance reviewing history, starting with Black Afghano, which I admittedly am not a huge fan of. It's good. I owned a bottle of it. I ended up selling it. I just didn't wear it. I didn't feel like it fit me or my personality or many functions. But Pardon, Aronda, Duro, I own them. They are beautiful. They are wonderful. The House of Nasomatto has arguably made some of the greatest compositions in the last 10 years. And of course, Duro is one of them. So let's go ahead and spray this on, and I'll tell you exactly what I think it smells like. When you spray Duro on, I've got the dry down on my hand. It is a lot sweeter than what you end up with as the fragrance develops on your skin. We got some sweet notes going on initially, some spices mixed with some really rugged dark wood and a really animalic, musky, almost musty quality that's going on way in the background that starts to poke its head through the mid and dry down, and a very, very pungent leather note. Now, the best way to describe this fragrance as it comes into its own and kind of makes its, right around its 3-hour mark, all the way up until its 10-hour mark. That's about how long it lasts on my skin, is 10 hours. It becomes just this leather, animalic, this is going to sound weird, but like jockstrap, okay? This has an underlying tone of football locker room. So that sweaty, musty muskiness from like a gym's locker room is one of the main accords in this fragrance. and one that I think is going to make you either hate or love this fragrance. This fragrance is exactly what its name would indicate. It's hard, it's rough, it's rugged, it's manly. I don't find this feminine whatsoever. Whatsoever, okay? This is not manly, or this is not womanly at all. This is all man. I don't ever usually say that. But for me in particular, I mean, obviously wear what you want, wear what you feel comfortable with. But me in particular, I would not enjoy this on a woman. Not at all. I think it's hard enough to pull off as a man, to be honest with you, because it is bold, it is in your face, it is unapologetic, it is a statement maker. This thing, you spray 2 or 3 sprays, you're gonna be noticed. You're making yourself known in a room. There's no getting around it. If you're looking for subtlety, this fragrance is not it. Not even with 1 spray, so forget about it. If you're looking for something that's manly and has these qualities that I've already stated, but it's like toned down, this ain't it. It doesn't matter how you try to spin it. Half a spray, 1 full spray, it doesn't matter, okay? This has to be something that you're comfortable with, you have to be confident, and you have to be prepared for the good and the bad. It's one of those kinds of fragrances in my mind. And that's why I think it's so beautiful. It's a reminder of old world perfumery where fragrances weren't just meant for smelling good, but they were meant for making a statement. And it just reminds me of something that would have been made in like the 70s or something like that for a man. So that being said, Nasomatto's Duro is going to go down in history as one of the most unapologetically sexy and gentlemanly fragrances that also has this badass tinge of I haven't showered in 4 fucking days. So if you can take that, I would highly recommend checking out Nasomatto Duro. Now, with the price point that it's at and the kind of fragrance that this is, bold and just daring. I find this to be daring. There's some people that when they wear this, they say that this is just a conventional, gentlemanly fragrance that you could wear with a suit and tie. I wholeheartedly disagree. I think that if you're looking to find a fragrance that's for formal occasions and you're having to dress up with a suit and tie or whatever, this isn't it. Because if you're wearing this to an occasion like that, I think you're kind of reading the room improperly, and you're going to end up kind of stinking some people out. This is not meant for close quarters. This is not meant for a room full of 100 people. It is meant for you wearing a leather jacket and hopefully outside for some part of your day, preferably the beginning of the day when you're first applying this fragrance, because this stuff is just so capable of filling out a room very quickly. And again, the nature of the fragrance is not meant for being a crowd pleaser or a people pleaser. This is one of those masterpieces that kickstarts a conversation, and for the enthusiasts and the connoisseurs out there, it's something for us to gravitate toward and hold on to and cling to and keep in our arsenal for a sense of rediscovering fragrance when we're going through a dry spell of designer garbage or even now niche garbage where everything's just blue and redundant and shit. When you look at fragrances like this or most of Chanel's like exclusive line or some of the indie houses coming out, I mean Slumber House, I've recently discovered Gallivant, and while their fragrances are a lot more fresh, they're still very unique. I'm having a blast with those kinds of fragrances right now, because when you're flooded by a world of blue and a world of aquatic, there's got to be a silver lining somewhere, and this house and this fragrance is one of them. And it's going to go down in history, in fragrance history, in the 2010s as being one of the staples and one of the most appealing, talked about, dazzling, daring, sexy fragrances to have come out in that time for men. and women. If it's marketed for men, but again, wear what you like. It doesn't matter. Don't go based off of solely my opinion, because I'm sure there's plenty of women out there that like these stinky animalic bombs that are just sexy and rugged. Um, I love this stuff. It's a solid 9 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 just because of its inability to um, get along with every occasion. I mean, in fact, again, its occasions that you can wear this are actually pretty minimal. But its price point, its longevity, its uniqueness, all those things, solid 9 out of 10. A wonderful release from Nasomatto. I hope you all check it out if you have not. You're really truly missing out on a piece of artistic integrity when it comes to perfumery in the last 10 years if you have not checked this out. So I would advise that you would. That being said, I hope you all are staying safe and that you're all happy and healthy, and I will talk to you all soon. I hope you're having a good one.